You've been making noise. You're independent.
Sir.
You've been performing. You've been writing. You've been getting nominated. You're doing all the splash.
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing, what's the bread been looking like in the game? Like what's it been looking like?
It's been looking great.
Yeah.
It's been looking really, really good. But that's because of intention.
Yeah.
As well. My business structure could be completely upside down if I didn't look at my metrics, if I didn't look at my analytics, if I didn't understand how much I was making and where I was making it at.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody has their strong point, and everybody's going to have their champions and avenues that support them.
Yeah.
And it's up to each brand to figure out whether they're going to lean in on that, whether they're going to double down, or whether they're going to continue to diversify and spread. It just all depends on, whatever's clever.
Yeah.
For me, being profitable and financially balanced.
Yes.
Heavy on the balance for sure.
Yes.
Means a lot to me because it's not about now. It's about down the road. So when it's all said and done, and there's a list of R&B artists that are doing it right now, we're creating blueprints.
Yes.
For kids to follow down the road. In hip hop, they got the Birdmans, they got the Master P's,
yes.
They got the Andre Harrells and the P Diddy's.
Yeah.
In R&B, we don't have so much of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or if we do, they're unsung heroes like Eric Roberson, like Raheem Devon.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So those artists don't get their just due.
Big shout out to Eric Roberson.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely one of the OGs, and he stood 10 toes down as it pertains to showing people that, hey, I can have a successful career, I can have a successful family.
That's right.
And still do what I want to do without compromising.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so definitely a big mentor of mine.
I had a chance to open up for him back, it was maybe 2016, I think, or 15, something like that, in Atlanta.
Yeah.
At Shanti Daz's event that she does.
Yeah.
And that was my first time meeting him. I was a fan already. So yes, Eric Roberson. I always liked. I remember reading his name years ago, Music Soul Child, on previous Cats. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know who it was. Didn't know who that was. I'm like, man, this song, because that's one of my favorite Music Soul Child records. Yeah. And fast forward years later, I remember seeing him as an artist, and I'm like, Eric Roberson, where I know that name from? Yeah. And then obviously I'm a fan of his music. I'm listening to his records, and I'm like, man, this dude here is he's a solid vocalist, songwriter. He's a MC in terms of how he controls a room. You know what I'm saying? And I really appreciate it. Big shout out to him.
Yes.
Yeah, he's major.
And just even going back to it in a sense of just making sure there's a blueprint that's there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody may not have access to Eric Roberson or Raheem. Yeah. But what I want to do is to make it more available. Yeah. For people to take the info and to grab game, to say, okay, here are the avenues where you can make money, and here's the growing avenues where you can continue to make money. You don't have to be a star in order for you to have a career. Yeah. And that's the big difference. Yeah. People feel like it's all or nothing. Yes. And it's not that. Yeah. Why suffer when you don't have to? In a sense of, in the meantime, in between time of your journey to be a star, for whatever it's worth, you can still be able to pay the bills. Yeah. You know what I mean? And still provide for your family and be charitable, philanthropic. Sure. In whatever ways that you want to be while on your quest to your personal glory. Right. And so that's kind of my MO right now, is just like making sure that the numbers add up, that I'm still taking risk, but I'm understanding that with every risk that I take, I have to still invest in the avenues that I know are profitable for me. Yes. So that when we run the numbers and I sit there with my distro, I sit there with anybody to say, and they're like, well, your social numbers and your this and that, and blah, blah, and the reasons why I can't do certain things, I'm like, no, I can't. Yeah. Because if you look at my numbers, this is what it shows. And so everybody, when they look at the numbers, they're like, well, this doesn't reflect what's happening socially. Yeah. I'm like, because I don't focus on digital cachet. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with focusing on digital cachet, but as it pertains to my business
It's only
and
one
my
element.
brand.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, it's literally a microcosm of it. So if I can hone in and say, yep, that pays triple of what, this, streaming service does. So
Yes.
let me really,
Yeah.
develop a relationship with them. How could I be a more active partner with them? What do they need? How can I be of service to them to make sure that I continue to grow this this relationship?
Yeah.
And it's not just about being cool.
Yeah.
I want for my fellow R&B artists to really get a grip on business acumen,
100%.
a grip on their business, have vision, because we need it. In order for our genre to thrive, we need to grab a hold of our business. It's a lot of my heroes that are still signed to major labels. And so when I need advice, I can't call them because they don't know nothing about what I'm doing. They can't relate. And that's no diss.
Yeah,
It's just
a
the fact of that's how far removed we are.
But it's so crazy you mentioned that, and I think about a lot of the artists, producers, these guys who have contributed greatly to the culture, who those deals they don't have those deals anymore, whatever, and they didn't understand the business enough from many of them manage it and have financial balance. To your point, to where they're not as successful in that area. They're still successful, but not in that area. As they would have been or could be had they had the education that you've acquired, or even the times. The times we just didn't have the access at the time. Some time years ago, 20 years ago plus. So to say that's very important to the new generation that's coming up, to watch guys like yourself and other independent artists and business guys. I like the point that you made about in hip hop you have all these examples of moguls. You have the Birdmans, the Master P's, the Diddy's, the Russell Simmons, the Jermaine Dupri's. You have that in hip hop. You don't really see, or at least hear enough. Besides L.A. Reid, you don't really hear enough R&B guys that transition from either whether it's artistry, producer, whatever, to being an executive and showing us you could put on a suit, you conducting the business, and you still elevating. Like, it's not like Barry Gordy, you know what I mean? Like, we don't really see that. The Quincy Joneses, we don't see that enough to where we have examples of younger guys that's representing for R&B music, to help elevate it. So that's awesome that you've taken that flag and you're planting that flag.
Yeah. Look, I'm the crash dummy right now,
but so, you're building it. That's fantastic. You're building it. That's fantastic. So do you have any artists that you signed that you're working on or have in mind, or?
There's artists that I have in mind. But like I always tell each artist, let's make it work when it makes sense for you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And if our goals don't match up, some of them don't have vision yet.
Sure.
And so I'm not taking on anyone or anything that doesn't have vision. And so I'll tell them, I don't think you see yourself in the way that I see you. I think you have more to offer. They're like, man, I just want to be on. I just want to. And I
hear you.
I'm with you on that. And I know you can help. I'm like, yes, but if I help you now, you're not going to be able to fully understand everything that's happening. And even if I'm transparent with you, it's going to be misconstrued. So I will be doing a disservice to you by partnering with you when you're blind. You haven't, you know what I mean?
But because cats want to be on so much, that's one of the reasons why we've had so many stories of disappointment. You know what I mean? Like, we think about the most infamous story, like the TLCs of the world, and all these groups that we want to see our bands still be able to tour, but we don't want to see our bands have to tour to survive.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? We want you to be able to perform when you want to perform. We want to see you as often as we can see you. But I appreciate watching people like Sade come out every 10, 20 years. I mean, although as a fan, I want to see her more. I got the opportunity to see her once and only in 2011.
Wow.
When she came to New Orleans, her and John Legend opened up for her. And this was the Soldier of Love tour. And I just was in that joker misty-eyed because it was such a magical experience.
Yeah.
And to say, man, I grew up listening to her, and she's another one. I call her Queen Mother. I think of people like Whitney Houston. She's Queen Mother. Anita Baker. These are all these queens of soul music and of just music in general. And but she don't seem like, I don't know her story.
Yeah.
But she don't seem like she's hurting in any way.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could tell by how she moves.
Absolutely.
You can tell by how anyone moves. Like, if you really look,
Yeah.
their intention and their motivation behind things.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, unfortunately, right now, people are so concerned with just being relative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And being of the now. That
relevant,
they're willing.
yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Relevant.
Yeah.
They're so concerned with that they'll sacrifice looking crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, really out here just like, I'm willing to expose it all just for people to see me and maybe take a listen to my music. And it's like, yeah, but it dilutes their whole narrative of you.
Absolutely.
And it dilutes the brand.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's not to say to not share.
Yeah.
But don't be so desperate to be on or to be seen that you diminish your value. It's just like, one of the what do you call it? Like the little memes or whatever that I seen on Instagram, and it's a story about a father that's on his deathbed. He gives his son a watch. He says, "Son, I want you to take this watch to the pawn shop and see how much you can get for it." It was an old watch that his great-grandfather gave to his father and to his father and giving it to the son. So he goes to the pawn shop. The pawn shop's like, it's so old, I'll give you $150 for it, right? So he goes back to his dad and it's like, Dad, I only got $150. They're only offering $150. So then his father's like, all right, well, go to, some other place.
Some jeweler.
Yeah, jeweler, right? Go to a jeweler. Jeweler's like, I can't do anything with this. Is so old. I'll give you $10 for it, right? And so then he goes back to his father and is like, Dad, they offering $10 for it, right? And so then the dad's like, go to this museum. And he takes the watch to the museum, and the museum's like, I'll give you $500,000 because it works perfectly in the collection. This watch is actually 250 years old, and this, and that, and the value of it.
Yeah.
He goes back to his father to say, they're willing to give me $500,000 for it. And he was like, see,
you gotta know your audience.
You have to know your worth and understand your value.
Yeah.
And the situation that you're in, the environment that you're in, can sometimes be a downgrade to what your true value is.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important for artists to understand your worth. Just because, social media is there, it doesn't mean that you have to degrade your value just to be seen.
Yeah.
You have to understand how to use it. That is just a tool. It's not the end of the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And understand your value. Surround yourself around people who understand your value and understand that seasons change. And some people may not understand your value, you know what I mean, in a different season when it's time to grow. Understand how to maneuver and how to, just,
That's amazing, brother.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. What do you have coming up next? Obviously, the album's out. I'm sure you got tours coming up. What do you have coming out next?
Shows lined up as far for 2024, new music, all kind of stuff.
Any new collabs coming up that's coming about to release soon?
You never know, man. You never know. Because, with collabs, especially if it's out of my control, you just never know when people are going to put things out.
Sure.
I don't want to be too early and, saying anything. So you just never know.
You're cooking.
I'm cooking. I'm super excited about 2024, 2025, 2026.
Come on.
I plan years down the line.
Yeah.
And so
that's vision.
Yeah. So I'll be back doing a lot of writing as well. So I'm super excited about that. Immersing myself in the sync world a lot more.
Yeah.
And so
I wanted to ask you that. in terms of sync, I know that's like a lot of people are saying that's the new record label in terms of making good money.
Yeah.
I'm not saying people make good money with the record label, but it's getting songs placed on films, television shows, commercials. That ticket is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
I'll say a little bit,
'Cause,
significantly bigger than streaming.
Yeah, because I mean that medium understands the value of music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, in a different way, and that's not to diminish all of the other avenues, but I think for sync, for film, and for TV, they understand the power of a good song and that being synced up with a powerful moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I worked on a Creed 3 soundtrack and had 2 records in the movie, and understanding the power of, a song and how it's like the colors and all of this stuff visually, how that all syncs together.
Sure.
And so they're aware of that.
Yeah.
And we're aware of it now.
Yeah.
And so, it's up to us as artists to, find our champions within the sync world, where our music fits best.
Yes.
If you don't have a disco, make sure that you sign up for disco. It's kind of like it's an app where you could put your catalog on there, and that's what a lot of music supervisors use to listen to music. You know what I mean? They create playlists through disco. I'm just, I'm giving free game.
You giving
whatever,
game?
You know what I'm
I got a disco. I know. I'm like, no. I'm like, that's real game, because I don't know if I've ever announced that to anyone. But I'm like, no, that's
look, I don't care. I
never thought about it, but that's good game for sure.
So get a disco. You know what I mean? Put your catalog on there. You know what I mean? Make sure all of your, I forget what it's called. I knew it, but all your metadata and stuff like that, to make sure that when these music supervisors are looking for, that the metadata matches what they're looking for as well.
Yeah.
And really open yourself up to different opportunities. You never know what people are missing and how you could fill that void.
Yeah, man. That's good, brother. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, go to our Patreon for bonus content.
Can we talk? Can we talk? Can we talk?